Welcome back to The Explainer. Today we're diving straight into a massive core mystery surrounding one of the most talked about companies of our generation, OpenAI. Now, we all know ChatGPT, right? Millions of us use it every single day, completely for free. But behind all that free access sits a massive, unbelievably cash-intensive operation. So how exactly does a company fund this grand mission to build artificial general intelligence for all of humanity?
Okay, let's dive into this because it's a really fascinating tension. On the one hand, you've got this massive, highly accessible free consumer tier, right? And that costs an absolute fortune to run. But on the other hand, you have an enterprise machine that has propelled OpenAI to historic valuations. They literally just raised capital at numbers well north of $120 billion. So how do these two completely different worlds coexist? And maybe more importantly, how do they actually feed into one another?
Section 1. The false binary. Normally, we love putting tech giants in neat little boxes. You're either a consumer company like Meta or you're a business-to-business company like Oracle. But OpenAI, they completely reject having to choose sides. According to their CFO, Sarah Friar, this binary thinking is just a flaw. They aren't trying to build just another app. They're building a foundational AI layer for the entire world, with some interfaces pointing to everyday consumers and others pointing to massive global corporations. So the crucial point is, they're both.
Now, what's really interesting about their revenue is how it completely shatters the myth that OpenAI is just setting cash on fire to subsidize free users while relying purely on corporate contracts to survive. It's actually perfectly balanced. 50% consumer, 50% enterprise. They're effectively monetizing both sides of the aisle. The consumer side isn't just some lost leader for them. Those individual $20 monthly subscriptions are generating massive revenue that perfectly balances out their multi-million-dollar corporate deals. It's really incredible to see.
Let's move to Section 2, hooking the consumer.
To really understand that perfectly balanced revenue, we've got to look at how they actually acquire users in the first place. Giving people a free, powerful taste of AI isn't charity. It's an acquisition strategy that's driving unprecedented global adoption. We're talking 900 million weekly users. ChatGPT has literally become a verb in our daily lives. And it's not just a Silicon Valley thing either. The fastest growing continent for ChatGPT right now is Africa, and the fastest growing languages, Azerbaijani and Kazakh. The free tier is just an incredible global top-of-funnel. And this brilliantly illustrates what happens once people actually get their hands on the tech. There's this fascinating commitment curve. On the free tier, a user might do, say, about 7 turns or queries a day. But once they get a taste of having intelligence on demand, a habit starts to form. When they upgrade to the Plus tier, usage doubles to 15 turns. Jump to the Pro tier, it absolutely skyrockets to 77 turns a day. So the free tier creates the habit, and that habit drives exponential usage, and ultimately the willingness to pay. Sarah Friar actually compares this consumer journey to the historical tech transition of upgrading to a smartphone. Think back to when you first got a basic flip phone. You probably thought, okay, well, I'll make a few calls on this, maybe send a text. Now think about your modern smartphone today and the thousands of things it does for you every single day. That is the exact path we are on with intelligence right now. The consumer is rapidly moving from seeing AI as a novelty to having complete daily dependence on it.
Section 3, powering the enterprise.
Here is the absolute magic of the flywheel. That massive consumer habituation naturally feeds right into the enterprise side. Millions of people using ChatGPT at home naturally want to bring that exact same productivity boost into their workplaces. But the scale of value creation is wildly different. For you and me as consumers, it's solving homework or maybe debugging a simple Python script. But for an enterprise, the ROI is staggering. Take Thermo Fisher, for example. They are using OpenAI's tools to accelerate patient screening for clinical trials. In the world of cancer treatment, speeding up an FDA approval by even a few weeks can literally be the difference between life and death. That is just a whole different level of value.
And this business-to-business side is firing on all cylinders under their new head of revenue, Denise Stresser. They're seeing incredibly broad vertical adoption everywhere, from giant tech companies all the way to major banks in New York. And what's wonderfully ironic is looking internally at OpenAI itself. The fastest adopters of their internal AI coding tool, which is called Codex, aren't even the software developers. It's the go-to-market and sales teams. The people actually out there selling the product are the ones using it the most. Everyone across every department is chasing that massive productivity leap.
Section 4, the cost of intelligence. Now, we do have to face a massive reality check here. Subsidizing hundreds of millions of free consumer accounts and powering all these enterprise breakthroughs requires an unbelievable amount of expensive, energy-hungry computer power. But there is a really crucial silver lining: the massive deflationary curve of AI cost. Get this, over just a 2-year period, the cost to run their flagship models plummeted by a staggering 97%. The technology is becoming so incredibly efficient per token that operating costs are dropping rapidly. This massive deflationary curve is exactly what gives them the confidence to keep giving away so much intelligence for free.
So how do they actually fund physical infrastructure, like, say, the massive 1 gigawatt data center they're building in Michigan? Well, they use a multi-cloud strategy, partnering up with Azure, Oracle, and AWS. This allows them to shift massive capital expenditures into operating expenditures. In simple terms, instead of paying billions upfront to build their own servers, they just rent them on a pay-as-you-go basis from the cloud providers. Combine that with using chips from multiple makers like NVIDIA, AMD, Cerebras, and Broadcom, and they manage to stay right on the frontier of compute without bearing all of that infrastructure cost alone.
Section 5. Ads, Agents, and Tomorrow.
As we look ahead, we really have to ask how OpenAI plans to sustainably fund its ultimate mission, which is providing AGI for all of humanity. And this brings up a pretty provocative question. Will highly personalized ads eventually pay for this free AI? Right now, if they only cared about pure profit, they would just dedicate all their computer power to their enterprise API because it is vastly more lucrative than the consumer side. But to remain a global utility and to keep that free tier viable long-term for billions of people, they may need an entirely new approach to digital advertising.
Their vision for an ad model is incredibly potent. As one industry leader put it, if Google and Meta had a baby, it would be ChatGPT. And honestly, think about it. From a search engine, you get high intent. You literally type in exactly what you're trying to solve or buy. From social media, you get rich demographic data. But an AI agent goes so much further. It has deep contextual memory. It remembers how you write, what your preferences are, your past challenges. Combining that deep personal memory with direct, real-time intent, that creates unprecedented advertising value. All while, of course, maintaining a paid ad-free tier for those who prefer it.
We are rapidly moving toward a world where AI is the fundamental infrastructure layer of our lives. It's becoming an everyday utility as common and, honestly, as necessary as electricity. So I'll leave you with this. As this technology evolves to not just answer your questions, but to intuitively remember you, assist you, and act as your personalized agent across this perfectly balanced consumer and enterprise ecosystem, how will a deeply personalized agentic internet change the way you interact with the world tomorrow? Take that thought with you. Thank you so much for joining me for this explainer, and I'll catch you next time.